is BBC
Asian Network.
Nihal.
Yes, coming up, is motorsport an enjoyable sport to watch? We all know that you love cars and have a thing for buying them, but are you a fan of watching it? I'm asking you this because in a moment I'm going to be speaking to someone who studied automotive design but then decided to pursue a career in motorsport, thus a very, very good driver.
This is BBC
Asian Network.
Nihal.
Yes, it is 12:15 and a very, very good afternoon to you. Now, Asian boy racers, or indeed girl racers, because my next guest is the Mumbai-born racing driver, Advait Deodhar, and he only took up the sport 4 years ago, but he's already at the top of his game, as he'll be the first Indian to compete in the Porsche Carrera Cup in Great Britain 2016. Now, amazing. Advait, welcome to the show.
Good afternoon, Nihal. Thank you for having me here.
Oh, it's great to have you here. Tell me, where did your fascination with motorsport come from? When did it start?
As far as I can remember, I think it's something innate. You're just born with it. It's literally like a bug. There's no actual explanation for it. So, I mean,
Is it a family thing?
Not at all, actually. I'm the only one who's had this motorsport bug. I mean, my brother watches motorsport along with me, but this obsession with speed and cars and driving fast and racing, it's as far as I can remember. I mean, even when I was a child, I was obsessed by cars. So yeah, I actually don't have an actual explanation to it.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Mumbai
Yeah.
till the age of 18.
So, I mean, the problem with Mumbai is a bit like London, or indeed any major city, is you can't really do more than about 10 miles an hour, can you? I mean, because the traffic's so insane. And also the added issue you have in Mumbai is the roads are terrible.
Exactly. I mean, if there's anywhere where you can, if you want to enjoy driving, trust me, go as far away from Mumbai as you possibly can. The roads are horrible. People have absolutely no sense of following the rules. Well, in all fairness, I grew up in that environment. So especially when I drive in Europe and in the UK, I need to think back. I need to sit down and say, okay, Advait, you're not in Mumbai anymore. There are rules that exist over here. So, yeah.
Do you think the Force India team has made a difference to the profile of motorsport in India, or was it already massive?
I think it made a big difference because if you look at it, Force India came in, put India on the motorsport map before the Formula One circuit came to India.
That's right.
So it definitely had a huge impact. And I'd say I think there's a number, I'm not sure what it is, but the numbers also majorly increased of motorsport following in India after Force India was purchased and made, I'd say.
Yeah, of course, Vijay Mallya.
Exactly.
Getting involved.
He's somewhere around here, isn't he?
Yeah, yeah, he actually does live over the road. I think he has a house in Regent's Park, actually, as most people do. Although it seems like a day goes by without him having to be summoned by some court in India at the moment.
Exactly.
And various parts of his empire in Bangalore seem to be dismantled and sold off. But let's get back to motorsport. So for you, developing this passion in motorsport in Mumbai, in Maharashtra even, very difficult to pursue it, right?
It actually is, and that's the reason I'd say also why I got into the sport extremely late. I'm not sure if you're aware, but I only got into it at 22, which is very late. I'd done a bit of go-karting and rallying before that. Once again, we didn't have the opportunities in Mumbai. We had a local go-karting track, but before the Buddh International came up, India had only 2 circuits. One was in Coimbatore and one was in Chennai. So
that's quite a way, right?
Exactly. And also the level of cars, I'd say, aren't anywhere close to what they are in Europe. Of course, in the past 3 years, we have made a major step forward. But yeah, growing up in Mumbai, there wasn't exactly the opportunity. There was a lot of cricket.
Yeah,
and I sailed as well. But yeah, motorsport, it didn't exist.
My understanding of India, going to India, is that it seems to be very much a motorbike culture, though. People love 2 wheels.
Exactly, and riding without helmets.
There is that as well. And, of course, 6 members of one family on one motorbike is not unheard of.
Exactly.
In India, as indeed well in Sri Lanka. So that 2-wheeled sense for speed, that seems to be there. You get the kind of Bollywood stars advertising these bikes. Why didn't you go that way?
Funnily enough, I've never actually enjoyed 2 wheels as much as 4 wheels, and like I said, I've always something about cars, something about sports cars and race cars have always thrilled me. So not even once did I even look in the 2-wheel direction.
Wow. So it was just a focus on four wheels from the off.
Completely.
So then how do you indulge that passion? Because A, it's very expensive, and B, you just don't have the resources in India to do so. So you've come to Europe to certainly get the resources. But then finding a sponsor, finding people that are going to support you, how difficult was that?
So it's actually been very difficult. And like I said, I only got into the sport in 2012, and touch wood that things have gone very well, because you need to understand the sport at the end of the day. People have this misconception that motorsport is glitz, glamour, fast cars, beautiful women, and just driving, just a good life. But
Yeah, right.
that's literally the tip of the iceberg. The amount of work that goes on behind the scenes is incredible. Because at the end of the day, if you don't work behind the scenes, if you don't have a big backer, if you don't have a big sponsor, you're not going to be behind the wheel of a car. However big a talent you are. You, Nihal, for example, do you believe in God?
I have my moments.
Okay, exactly.
Yes.
You something happens and you're born. You wake up tomorrow with Sebastian Vettel, Michael Schumacher, Lewis Hamilton's talent combined.
Yeah.
You can't actually showcase it until you have a big fat check that actually can get you behind the wheel of a car. It's not like doing a 100-meter sprint where you're going to do it in 9.2 seconds. You don't need anything else.
Yeah, right.
So that's how motorsport works, and so people need to understand that. And I think that's one of the major reasons why we haven't had very many Indian drivers who have competed at a top level of international motorsport, because most of the drivers, they think that we don't get backing in India, we don't get support for the sport, but you got to make it happen. Sitting back and harping on the fact that nothing's happening is not going to change. You got to go out there and make the difference. And where I'm not tooting my own horn over here, but what I'd say is I really studied the sport, and I realized that it's more than just being a driver. You need to become a brand. You need to become an icon. You need to become a face for the people. Represent your country, represent whatever it is that you must, because that's what's going to get you the backing. Because like you mentioned, it's such an expensive sport.
Yeah.
So it's all the work that goes around it.
It's about, on average, someone from Mercedes was telling me this, about £100 million to run an F1 team on average.
Oh, that's, if you're a back marker.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, if you're really going to spend the kind of money that these teams do. But then saying that, one badge on an F1 car for an advertiser is like $1 million. And just have one sticker.
Exactly. And $1 million is going to literally get you something the size of your fingernail.
Yeah, right.
But the thing is, like in Formula One, for example, I think now Ferrari and Mercedes, they're spending close to 400 million euros a year to run two cars. That sounds ridiculous, but you got to also remember that there's about 1,000 people working on these cars. And it's not just money. Now, motorsport, if you look at it, Formula One is one of the most watched sports on the planet.
Yeah.
No other sport takes you to 21 countries around the world, has over 550 million unique viewers per year. So when sponsors are dishing out these large sums of money, they're actually getting value for it.
They are.
There is actual value in it. So,
but there is a worry, isn't there? And the F1 drivers have voiced that just today.
Yeah.
That it may not stay the most watched sport in the world, that its audiences could suffer, the excitement could suffer, there could be dangers, the tyres are not right. I mean, there seems to be a little bit of a disconnect between those who run the sport and those who actually participate in it.
to be honest, that's been happening for a very long time. You keep having these ups and downs of people are going to fall out, but nobody's ever going to walk away from Formula One. We're all mad followers. And it does, though currently there is a slight issue, I'd say, primarily with the engine and with the tires. First and foremost, in my opinion, and I'm sure a lot of other people will agree, is Formula One is man and machine being pushed to the absolute edge. Driven to the absolute edge. I mean, it's not about saving tires or saving fuel and lifting and coasting into corners. It should be all or nothing. And a lot of auto manufacturers, they do use the same technologies in Formula One in their road cars. And that's why you also do have the World Endurance Championship, which you've probably heard of the LMP1 cars, which are those Audi and Porsche, the hybrid cars. And that's basically on par with Formula One today. And the manufacturers over there, they use those technologies in their road-going cars. So Formula One should not have 100 liters of fuel, and drivers got to conserve their fuel and drive in accordance to the fact that they can actually finish the race within that 100 liters. Formula One should be about loud cars, your blaring V8s over 125 decibels as it used to be. tires not giving away in 2 or 3 laps, and the fact that, in fact, nowadays a lot of times drivers can't follow the car ahead because the tires will degrade. So in my opinion, personally, if they're going to go with the hybrids, I think they should drop the fuel management. Refueling should be allowed. The tires need a major overhaul. Pirelli are going in that direction, especially 2017. They're saying the cars are going to be 5 seconds faster than they are right now, because if you look at a GP2 car, which is the feeder series to Formula One, they're in Barcelona. They're just about 3.5 to 4 seconds off the pace, which
isn't enough.
Exactly.
What cars do you drive?
So I'm going to be racing the Porsche Carrera Cup.
Wow.
So I'm actually going in a different direction to Formula One.
Yeah.
So as I mentioned, the World Endurance Championship, I want to ultimately reach the LMP1 category. And
what speeds are you getting up to in those Porsche Carreras?
they go to about 280, 290. But again, going in a straight line is not what it's about. I mean, you can get enough cars which are going to take you to about 300 plus in a straight line. Where the sensation for motorsport, which makes it so exciting, is your braking and going through corners. Now, when you're
I've been
braking,
to Spa a number of times.
Yeah.
And that first corner in Spa, that hairpin, is just, I mean, if you're coming down that straight,
exactly.
you've got to be pretty skilled to get around that.
And then going up Eau Rouge after that, imagine you're completely flat. There's about 110 meter elevation difference between the bottom of the corner and the top. And so that's where the sensation for motorsport is, when you're braking so very late. It feels like your head is being pulled off your neck, because you're braking from triple digit figures down to 70, 80 kilometers an hour within about 60 to 80 meters. And you're literally standing on the brakes. And that's why it's so physically demanding as well. People think, I can drive for 6 hours, but it's not the same.
Is your height a disadvantage?
Majorly. I should have played basketball or cricket
What are you,
or something.
6'3"?
Yeah, 6'3.5". I'm not your conventional sized racing driver.
No. So, I mean, getting into one of those kind of bucket seats in a Porsche, getting out of the Porsche must be hard enough.
It's like fitting in a pram.
Yeah, I know, right? I know. And then trying to go at, nearly 300 kilometres an hour. You're talking kilometres an hour, aren't you? 280, yeah, 280 kilometres an hour. That is just quite mind-boggling speeds that you're dealing with.
Yeah, no, getting back to height, sorry. I mean, I've been racing Formula cars, so that's why it's very difficult. That's why you have a very, very small space to fit in. But now moving to sports cars, I do have a bit of more space. It is still quite a tight fit, but thankfully I do fit. And yeah.
Let us take a break for a little bit. 81869 is the text number. I mean, there are people who like to travel around our roads normally with a lot of speed going on, dangerously so. I mean, what are your tips for people who... Now, we, of course, are certainly not encouraging people to break the law, so staying within the speed limits on a motorway, for instance, and just drive carefully and drive with speed, because driving like you drive in your Porsche on the race car is a completely unnatural form of driving, isn't it?
Yeah. And
or maybe it's the most natural, I don't know.
I mean,
they're created for speed, right? They're not created to do 30 miles an hour.
Exactly. They don't work actually at 30 miles an hour properly, because you got to get your temperatures up. Your brakes won't work unless they're running at a certain temperature above about 800 degrees. So you have to drive a race car on the limit, otherwise it's not going to work. And as funny as that sounds, but yeah, I mean, getting back to driving on the street, I think that's one thing I always say: leave the racing for a circuit and drive safely on the road, because it's not just you on the road, there's other people as well. You may be in complete control, but there's circumstances that do arise where it's not someone else makes a mistake and they're going to bear the brunt and you're going to bear the brunt. So if you want to drive fast, I think go on a circuit, take your car. You can do track days. There's so many circuits, especially over here in the UK. But on the road...
Get it out of your system.
Exactly. You need to, at the end of it, you want to get it out of your system. There's no point going flat out on a B road or on a highway, but do it on a circuit and respect the rules. I'm not going to lie. I used to drive pretty fast back in India, and touch wood, nothing happened. But I realized that, okay, this is wrong. And it's not just the fact that I can drive on the streets now, but at the end of it, you got to respect the rules. You got to respect others as well. So that's what I always say, that please drive safely on the road. Follow the rules, and you're not a racing driver on the road. Trust me. You want to race, get on a circuit.
Okay. We'll find out more about driving Porsches at high speeds after we take a break for a track.
This is BBC
Asian Network.
Nihal.
Yes, indeed. Right. Advait Deodhar is here. Tell me, how much does one of those cars cost that you're sitting in?
Well,
How much is it worth?
so the cars are, at the end of it, the driver brings the budget to the team. So a season costs about £220,000 for the Porsche Carrera Cup, and usually the team owns the car
Right.
because you're constantly progressing forward. If you want to own the car, it's I think about £130,000.
Right.
Which doesn't seem very much for a race car, but again, because it's subsidized by Porsche, because it is an official Porsche championship.
Right, I see.
But otherwise, the driver needs to bring about a budget of £220,000, which covers the entire season, and that goes to the team.
Wow.
No big guys, Nihal, it brings value.
Yeah, right? I mean, it is
It is big, yeah.
it is a really huge amount of money
Yeah.
to invest. And then, so the driver has to buy into the team.
So how it works in motorsport, and this is actually all the way up to Formula One, it's, to be honest, on paper, motorsport is very funny. Because on one side, you have the driver who's buying into the team to showcase his talent. Pretty much, in simpler words, you're paying to showcase your talent. And so the driver, as you move up the ladder in whether it's in single-seater racing or in sports car racing, you pay the team for them to run you. And all the way up to Formula One, you have on one hand Lewis Hamilton who's making £30 million a year. But on the other hand, you have, say, last year, Pastor Maldonado, who was bringing 25 million from PDVSA, the Venezuelan government, as sponsorship to drive. And yeah.
My gosh. So pay to play.
Yeah, exactly. And pay big money to play.
So then at what point then does that money start rolling back to the driver?
So it works in again, it's a very fine line. So if you're going towards, now I'll give you both examples. So if you're going towards Formula One, you need to have a few million to compete in, say, GP3 series, Formula 3, GP2. And then unless in that 0.0001% chance that your talent and you're there at the right place at the right time, you're going to be picked up by whoever, Ferrari, Williams, Mercedes. But otherwise, if you want to pick up, if you want to race in a backmarker team, or in a midfield team, say Sauber, Force India, Manor, or anything else in that level, you got to bring the budget. So the driver pays the budget, and then if you are doing well, if you're a real standout talent, if you're also a marketable character at the end of the day, then there's chances that you'll be signed on by a bigger team and they will pay you a salary. Now that's Formula One.
Right.
Now on the other side, where I'm heading towards is the World Endurance Championship. That's where you have properly manufacturer-backed teams. So for example, in my situation is I'm aiming for the Porsche Motorsport pyramid. Now, Porsche have a very systematic way to reach the top, to reach the pinnacle of the sport. So how theirs works is the Porsche Carrera Cup. There's 9 Carrera Cups that happen around the world.
Right.
Then you have the Porsche Super Cup.
How many of those do you have to win to move to the next level then?
Well, you don't need to win. I mean, you want to stand out. So you compete in your own. Then in various regions, you have the Carrera Cup GB, you have Germany, you have Italy, you have Asia, Australia.
So when is the Carrera Cup happening here?
So the Carrera Cup Great Britain starts next week at Brands Hatch. So, yeah.
How are you feeling? Confident? What's your competition like?
It's very, very difficult, the competition, which is good.
Yeah.
At the end of it, I want to be up against tough competition.
Of course.
And there's a very, very good range of drivers that
Are you the only Indian racing?
I am the only Indian, and I will be the first Indian to compete in the series. So again, that's a marketing opportunity right there.
Yeah, of course.
Because they themselves want an international driver, so I'm going to really stand out.
Yeah.
And so whoever's partnering with me are going to stand out as well. But yeah, getting back, I'm just going to finish what I was saying about the motorsport pyramid.
Yeah.
So as you're competing from the Carrera Cup, you move up to the Super Cup.
Yeah.
And if you win the Super Cup, then the idea when you're competing in these championships is to ultimately become a manufacturer driver. So you have a contract with either Audi or Porsche or whichever manufacturer's pathway you're following. And then you drive for the team. So Mark Webber, he races in the LMP1 championship for Porsche. And he's contracted by Porsche. So he is under a salary from Porsche. He doesn't need to bring in sponsorship or anything. So that is my aim, to be an official, in racing terms, we call it a factory driver for a manufacturer in the LMP1 category. And I want to make it happen and be the first Indian to do it and the first Indian to win at Le Mans. That's the idea as well.
And how long are you giving yourself to achieve the Le Mans win?
So the way I see
What
it...
are you, 25 now?
No, I just turned 26.
26, right?
So the way I see it is Carrera Cup, Super Cup, GTE, Le Mans. 2019, 2020 is where I see myself realistically being able to give it a shot at winning Le Mans. I might participate in Le Mans before that in one of the GT categories, but my ambition, and I think which is realistic as well, 2019, 2020 is the way I see it.
Okay. What level of racing license does Advait have? And how do you get a racing license? So do you need a specific license?
So I currently have an international B license, and that was from India, but I'm converting it to a British license because I'm going to be competing in a British championship. But to start off, you need to go to a racing school in the UK. It's the ARDS and the MSA. It's not a very difficult process. And yeah, just get online, check out the ARDS or the MSA.
Suk in Dartford said, "Hi Nihal, see how bad Asian drivers are. All you have to do is drive through an Asian populated area. No one gives way, no rules are followed, and everybody just have their own rules, causing traffic and road rage. It feels the same as when you go to India." There you go. So British Asians have created their own Indian style of driving here in the UK. Advait, thank you for coming in today. Where can people find out more about you?
So you can check out my Twitter, my Facebook, and my website. So my Twitter is at Advait Deodhar, ADVAITDEODHAR. Go follow my Facebook. That's facebook.com/Advait Racing. That's ADVAITRACING. And check out my website. That's advaitdeodhar.com.
Brilliant. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
At Brands Hatch. We hope to see you on the winners' podium.